1, 2, 3. Yeah.
It should be.
Either way, looking at it, it's going to be interesting. No more technical difficulties today. See?
Is it working?
Say it's not streaming.
It's not streaming.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have got your feedback, not streaming. So we're working on it. And maybe
There we go.
you got it now?
Got it now.
Tell me if it's working now.
It's working now.
No.
Tell me that for them. You know, ironically enough, all that talk about 2 people and 3 people, and I'm still pressing the 2 people button saying, why is this not working? That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no, we should be up and running.
It's working now.
So apologies to the listening audience. But yeah, if for those of you who are just tuning in via either YouTube or Instagram streaming or now Facebook streaming, thanks to ACT Cruise Tourism, our guest coming up at 5 o'clock will be our second opportunity to sit down with Cayman Islands National Party candidate for West Bay North, Jordan Rivers. Will be back in studios. And as I was saying just a few moments ago, he'll be chatting on the subject of globalization and its impact on the Cayman Islands, youth development and advancement in jobs, as well as the general political landscape in the Cayman Islands, which certainly is starting to heat up and get, very interesting. If you follow social media, you will know all about the rumor mill and all of the juicy stories that are being tossed around, I suppose, for political color. Unfortunately, you won't find any of that here at Straight Talk. We deal in just the facts. And hopefully the facts will be what guides you as you go to the polls in selecting the next leaders for the Cayman Islands. Before we get to that, though, we want to, of course, begin, as we always do, taking a look at some of the good news of the day. And I think today I have to give some sugar, if not some props, to the Honorable Deputy Governor, Frans Manderson, who hosts his annual Deputy Governor's 5K Challenge Run Walk every year. Apparently this year was the biggest crowd ever. It was a record-breaking crowd of over 2,200 people.
I wonder what that means.
Just means it's growing in popularity. People are coming out and spending more time on this event. Maybe they like this event over other events, or they're just more people with a healthy mindset in the Cayman Islands, and they're turning up to register.
Could be that people are feeling fat, Austin.
It could be.
Sorry, I just wanted to throw that in there.
It could be. Well, the weather was perfect. It was sunny, but not too warm, as the massive crowd set off down Elgin Avenue shortly after 6:30 p.m. on Sunday. Deputy Governor Frans Manderson said, "I am so proud to see so many people coming out, getting their heart rate up, thinking about their health, but also giving back to the community." This year, the funds collected from the Deputy Governor's 5K Challenge went towards 3 charities, namely the Cayman Islands Scouts, the Girls Brigade, and 1-to-1 Cayman. Apparently, 1-to-1 Cayman was formerly Big Brothers Big Sisters in the Cayman Islands, and they provide mentoring and support to children, youth and young adults to overcome obstacles, build life skills, and help them realize their potential. Manderson extended his gratitude to sponsors, volunteers, and every participant who made this, again, record-breaking number of persons participating in the 2025 Deputy Governor's 5K Challenge.
Right.
So congratulations to the Deputy Governor. I do know, again, just from past experience, how much effort that goes into this annual event. It's an important one to the Deputy Governor. Interestingly enough, you talk about, persons feeling fat, but it was when the Deputy Governor started his whole health kick, and one of the things he started doing was jogging. Obviously, small baby steps at first, and then getting all the way up to 5K. But when he started his health kick is when he came up with the whole DG 5K challenge, and now it's just, again, it's a household name in the Cayman Islands.
So you and I have always been, liberal with our accolades for the Deputy Governor. I don't think that's to change. I think he's a great guy. Continues to do awesome things.
He does. He is.
And, if you even think about the Deputy Governor 5K, just from the perspective alone of just keeping your own staff, your own civil servants, encouraging them
yes,
to keep healthy.
Sure.
That's something that we hope would be contagious in all the different companies, and they all say, well, we don't have to start our own. DG's already started one, so let's just go join that up. So I'm happy to hear it's growing. The more things we can do for health, the better it is, as they say.
Yeah.
Healthy nation is a wealthy nation.
No, you're so right. And I'm glad you mentioned, obviously, the civil service. You know, there's a train of thought, the higher up the food chain you climb, and some executives, I mean, I remember many moons ago working in financial services, and, you know, my then managing director warning me, he says, as you climb further up the career ladder, just remember that familiarity, familiarity breeds contempt.
Contempt, yeah.
Suggesting that if you socialize with the people that, you know, have to answer to you, then somehow or the other words, the respect in the professional realm is somewhat eroded.
Play with dog, lick in the face.
I never did understand that, and it was never my approach, and certainly clearly not the deputy governor's approach either. You know, I think you get more out of the people that work for you if you know them at a social level, if you have a relationship with them and let them know that, listen, you're important to me not only as my, director of marketing, but you're also important to me as, Ellio Solomon and, my friend, and, I want to know what's going on in your family life. So the deputy governor has always been very charismatic and personable in that regard. And to your point, some of the early participants in the DG challenge were civil servants, and thankfully still are.
Yeah.
So I'm encouraged by that. Obviously, he's broken the mold and gotten into mainstream athletic persons now, persons who are, again, interested in their health and think they're going to live forever.
Hey.
Unlike us who know we're going to live forever.
Are you making a stop, Austin?
I'm just saying, why run? You only die tired. Just saying.
Anyway, kudos to him.
Kudos to the deputy governor. And again, a record-breaking year. Another bit of good news. And some might say, why promote this, Austin? It's kind of your competition. I go, I don't know, really. It is good news because Caymanians apparently...
Do we have a competitor?
I was thinking the same thing, really. Really? Where are they? I don't see them.
I'm like Shakira Richardson. I'm looking over my shoulders.
Really? I don't know. I see some dust. Let me get that off there, but no. But Caymanians are thrilled with the return of broadcast television in the Cayman Islands. Don't believe me? Just follow the social media pages of the day. Local television has returned to Cayman with the Compass Media's launch of Compass TV, which will be presenting news and community-focused content across multiple platforms. Programming will be streamlined live on its own Compass-dedicated website, compasstv.ky, but will also be broadcast on all local cable providers, namely Logic, Flow, C3, and Digicel. The TV team, of course, is comprised of a number of familiar faces, particularly those persons who used to work formerly for Cayman 27 as broadcasters, starting, of course, with the always lovely and always a joy to work with, Tammy Suleiman, your buddy and mine, Simon Boxall.
Yep.
Andrell Harris, no relation, but, I got to admire the guy. Got a great, strong last name. Philip Richter, and, of course, Seaford Russell Jr., as well as a new generation of broadcasters, Toby Brennan, Zozia McGregor, and Mita Worms. Of course, we have Reagan Ruddy added to that list, and Mark Weston. So outside of Reagan, I really don't know any of the other ones on that new lineup. But those are the new faces mixed in with some of the not-so-new faces. But in any event, broadcast television is back, and you can find that at compasstv.ky, or if you subscribe to their TV channels, either Logic, Flow, C3, or Digicel, will all carry their content. And, again, a return of the old Cayman 27, as they say.
There you go. Without
the rabbit ears. So you've got digital technology instead of analog technology, and I'm sure with that you'll get things like high-definition channels and more broader community-based programming, which is always very, very good. But in these days, TV isn't what it used to be. I mean, now radio is TV with the advent of streaming video. It seems like everybody is streaming, whether you're having a political meeting or just, hosting a birthday party. They want to say, well, I couldn't make it, but, show it to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that also highlights how introverted we become as a community as well. I can't be there in person, but I'll put a like on your social media if you'll stream me the video. Anyway, so broadcast TV is back in Cayman, and I know a lot of people are thrilled about it, so we'll be thrilled about it with you. We think it is a step in the right direction, certainly for those persons who were displaced after the unfortunate closure of Cayman 27, when certain individuals bit off more than they could chew. But I'm glad to see it coming back and back on the airwaves. And, if you're one of those persons that are glad to see it or would like to add some sugar or send up some roses while he's still alive to the deputy governor on his successful 5K, 745-2626 is the number. That's 745-2626. Give us a call. Or, of course, you can always WhatsApp us. Do you remember the number?
I think it's 928-5626 or something.
Close. 928-2562.
Okay.
No, 928-2562. Got me questioning it now. 928-2562.
Boy, and if you forget that number.
Boy, David. But, one never calls oneself. So, that's why it's just something you don't remember. But, yeah, 928-2562. Send us either a WhatsApp audio note or a WhatsApp traditional text message, and we will gladly share both on the air with your comments, should you wish to add them to it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So you say we have Mr. Jordan in the studio today?
We have Mr. Jordan. He'll be back in studios with us today at 5 o'clock. And I'm also happy to say, for those of you who are, planning your entire week based on the Straight Talk schedule, as you should, we will have the pleasure, we just signed him on board to be with us for the next 5 weeks. So he'll be with us at least one day out of every week leading up to the upcoming general elections. So thank you very much, Jordan, for that business and obviously knowing where to come to get your message out. And certainly if you are a political candidate and you want to have an opportunity to have your message shared with the listening audience, but in particular those constituents with whom we'll be going to the polls, hopefully to vote for you, you can reach out to us through the usual 745-2626. You can use the WhatsApp 928-2562, or more ideally, I suspect, via email at host@straighttalk.ky. That's host@straighttalk.ky. Just shoot us an email, and someone will get back to you as soon as possible, and more importantly, we'll get you booked as our guest on the air here on the program. So yes.
What time is Mr. Jordan coming on?
Mr. Jordan,
I don't want to get too excited and go in some different direction, right? He's coming on what?
5 o'clock.
See, that's what I thought.
5 o'clock. So we have 6 more minutes left.
Better just continue with our banter.
Yeah. Well, speaking of banter, you know me. I don't go outside, anywhere after November to March are my outside times. That's when the winter season rolls around.
New news.
And it's cooler in Cayman, because anywhere after March to say, late September, it is surface of the sun hot. And apparently, I'm not the only one who thought so. 2024 was recorded as Earth's warmest year on record, which began some 175 years ago, according to the World Meteorological Organization. And also for Cayman, an active hurricane season also made 2024 the wettest year in nearly 2 decades.
There I was outside doing construction, and I had no idea about this.
Well,
no one informed me. I guess this is in support of climate change. The world is heating up, right?
How do you not notice it? I mean, have you gotten so accustomed to the heat outside? It feels so refreshing.
I didn't notice.
I feel alive.
I think only those people staying in the office too much would realize that. Did the sun just burn me?
Speaking of which, I've always wanted to ask this, and I don't know whether you subscribe to this approach, but you see folks who are working outside,
right?
You see them with the long sleeves, you see them with the face coverings, and what looks like whatever.
Like we're about to break a bank.
Like we're about to certainly commit a nefarious act,
right?
But that supposedly makes them cooler as opposed to hotter. And again, it makes sense because you have the entire Middle East who also, support this whole process of donning more clothing rather than less. But in my otherwise small mind, who again can't take the heat,
which I don't agree with, but
I would think it would be that whole face mask, long sleeve thing. I would imagine that would make you even hotter rather than cooler.
Well, first of all, let me just say on the face mask thing, I do not condone wearing face masks off the construction site.
Right.
Okay?
Well, good. I agree with that.
It's like, hello, you're not on the construction site anymore.
Yeah, right.
The sleeves are fine. But I don't know. I never even liked that during COVID. Here we are in the bank. I used to say it all the time. We're in the bank with a mask on. Who would have thought? but either way, first of all, it's stopping a lot of the direct sunlight. So you're cutting down on some of those UV rays, etc. And that helps to keep you a little bit cooler. But then there is a little bit of sweat there, but it actually allows you to get, when the wind blows, whatever it is, it actually helps you to stay cooler.
Okay.
So it's a bit like, you ever kind of walked into one of those doors in a business somewhere and it actually throws a mist of water at the same time while it's blowing on you?
Yes.
Well, that
is ideal.
So it's the same thing.
Okay.
Same kind of concept.
Okay.
If you're actually wet, then the wind cools you better than if you're not wet.
No, right? That makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense. I can definitely.
So what I can do for you, Austin, is I can, whenever you're hot,
carry a little misting spray.
I was thinking about just throwing a bucket of water, but
the bucket of water works as well, buddy. I mean, it really does.
But but theoretically, if I throw a bucket of water on you, or I put the mist on you out in the middle of the sun, you will stay a little cooler.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
Pick up every little bit of air.
But I knew I was right. I knew this before they even measured it. But 2024, according to meteorologists, was the warmest year on record.
Your skin told you this.
My skin told me this. It said you do not want to go outside right now.
Go to night.
Data collected also on the report shows that between 1993 and 2002, global mean sea level rose at 2.1 millimeters per year. But between 2015 and 2024, that rate more than doubled to 4.7 millimeters per year. So that was another standout, saying that the state of the climate report issued this month was a wake-up call about the increasing risk to our lives, economies, and the planet as it relates to, obviously, climate change and, in particular, global warming. So we add all of that to the unfortunate aspect of global warming, which is, to us, the worst news ever. As the world and as the globe warms, that only tells us that it's going to be another active hurricane season for us. But we continue to pray to Almighty God to look out for us, look after us, take care of us. Sometimes being so small on the map actually works in our favor, but nothing beats prayer, right?
No, absolutely.
Indeed. Well, it is 58 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock. And again, coming up in just a few short moments, we will have the pleasure of the company of West Bay North candidate for the Cayman Islands National Party. Jordan Rivers will be back in studios with us today, and we hope you will stick around to be a part of that. The phone lines, as always, will be open at 745.
What were some of the things he was going to talk about today?
He's going to talk about globalization and its effect on the Cayman Islands. He's going to talk about youth advancement and development and jobs, as well as sharing his insights on Cayman's current political landscape.
Right. Should be interesting.
I think three rather hefty topics. We're going to pause, take a short commercial break, check in with the local and BBC News, but keep it locked. There'll be more Straight Talk still to come on Bobo 103.1 FM.
Bobo.
How can we understand the world better?
The BBC World Service is a window onto the wider world.
The vantage point from which to survey a new horizon.
News, reports, and analysis from around the world.
Stories we think matter.
Different people from different societies.
We get to the heart of global issues.
News, stories, and global perspectives from the BBC World Service.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
The BBC World Service, the world's radio station.
The BBC World Service makes programs with a uniquely global perspective.
Enlighten us. Where do we start?
The latest world news and current affairs.
The very best in global arts and culture.
What has been happening on the financial markets today.
Social issues, political stories.
Everything was there in a way that I never heard before.
The BBC World Service.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
Welcome to our newsroom here in central London. We place ourselves here, a little desk right in the thick of things.
OS from the BBC.
We can catch the very latest news from our colleagues, not just in this enormous room, but also from our colleagues around the world.
I'm in the room where they're treating children.
This is a combat zone.
The situation after the typhoon is very complicated.
It was a very tense situation.
OS from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM. This is Bobo 103.1, powered by Health Services Authority.
At Health Services Authority, they are committed to caring for you. They are Cayman's largest and longest standing healthcare provider, offering the most comprehensive range of inpatient, outpatient, and public health services at 9 different locations across all 3 islands.
Across Cayman on 103.1 FM, online, and on your smart speaker. The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo 103.1.
Hello, I'm Neil Nunes with the BBC News. The U.S. has said it expects all parties in Gaza to comply with international humanitarian law following the killing by Israeli forces of 15 paramedics, civil defense workers, and a UN worker. The United Nations aid chief said Israeli troops killed the medical team while they were trying to save lives. Israel says its forces fired at vehicles that were approaching suspiciously. Tom Bateman has more from Washington.
Asked about the killing by the Israeli military of the paramedics, civil defense staff and a UN worker, State Department spokeswoman Tammy Bruce said that every single thing that happens in Gaza is happening because of Hamas. She said the US expects all parties on the ground to comply with international humanitarian law, but declined to say whether the State Department was carrying out any assessment of its own when asked about the attack, given the US is Israel's biggest arms supplier.
The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been questioned by police after 2 of his top aides were arrested over alleged unlawful ties with Qatar. He himself is not a suspect. The governing Likud party has criticized the arrest, saying the probe is politically motivated. The French far-right leader Marine Le Pen has condemned as a political decision her conviction for embezzlement, which means she won't be allowed to run in the presidential election in 2 years. She says she's innocent and will appeal. Hugh Schofield is in Paris.
At the end of a momentous day in French politics, Marine Le Pen came out fighting. No, she said she had no intention of withdrawing from the scene, despite the ineligibility imposed on her by the court. She'd spent 30 years fighting injustice, and she would keep doing so to the end. Millions of voters had their hopes vested in her. The leader of the National Rally was found guilty of misusing EU money to pay for party workers, and part of her punishment was to be barred from standing for office with immediate effect. But she said this was a denial of natural justice.
A woman who accused Prince Andrew of sexually assaulting her when she was 17 says she's been involved in a serious accident and is in hospital. Virginia Giuffre said she had suffered kidney failure after a collision with a school bus. Netta Tawfik has more.
Virginia Giuffre is covered in bruises and in a hospital bed in a photo posted on her social media. She wrote that doctors had given her 4 days to live and were transferring her to a specialist. It's unclear where and when the collision with the school bus happened. Responding to the BBC, her spokesperson confirmed she was receiving medical care in the hospital and said Ms. Giuffre greatly appreciated the well wishes people were sending. Her sex abuse allegations against Prince Andrew led the royal to step down from public duties and to reach a private settlement with her. He has strongly denied her claims.
World News from the BBC. The United States has sought to defend itself over the pace of its deployment of earthquake emergency aid to Myanmar following the Trump administration's announcement last week that it was dismantling USAID, America's main overseas aid agency. The State Department said a team was on its way to help with recovery efforts and had set aside $2 million for aid organizations on the ground. China, Russia, and India have already sent teams to Myanmar. The United States says it's deported another group of alleged gang members to El Salvador. It said the 17 men were from Venezuela and Central America. They've been sent to a notorious Salvadorian high-security prison, and they're expected to be held there for at least a year. Moldova is expelling 3 Russian diplomats, accusing them of helping a pro-Moscow MP flee justice. Earlier, Moldova's security service released CCTV footage saying it showed Alexander Nestorovsky, entering the Russian embassy 2 weeks ago. The next day, he was allegedly smuggled into the breakaway Transnistria region. The two NASA astronauts who were stuck in space for more than 9 months say they felt humbled by the support they received. Nearly 2 weeks after they returned to Earth, Sonny Williams and Butch Wilmore have spoken publicly for the first time. Emma Vardy has the details.
Back on Earth, Sonny Williams says she hugged her husband and dogs and enjoyed a grilled cheese sandwich. Butch Wilmore says he was glad to be back with his family and his church. They were supposed to be on a quick test flight on Boeing's Starliner capsule, but the Starliner had technical problems and returned to Earth without them. For 9 months, they worked on the International Space Station, conducting science experiments and waiting for SpaceX to bring them home. While the mission didn't go as planned, Sonny Williams said it was a great success.
BBC News.
The views and opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And welcome back, man, to more Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 on your radio dial and simulcasting live on YouTube, Instagram, and now Facebook, thanks to the ACT Cruise Tourism page. I'm your host, Austin Harris. And we are joined, of course, in studios, not only by my colleague, Ellio Solomon, but we're happy to have with us for the second week in a row.
I just love when you call my name, Austin.
Candidate from the Cayman Islands National Party.
It's the way it rolls off your lips.
In the constituency of West Bay North, Mr. Jordan Rivers. You see how I ignore all of that? Because
I'm going to say is, should I walk out the room?
No. Please stay. Please stay right where you are.
You just do the same thing to your competitors. Just let it roll off your back.
Hey, that's right. There you go. Don't let them bother you, my son. Don't let them trouble you in the least. Jordan, welcome back. Great to have you as our guest in studio for the second week in a row.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here again.
Oh, man, listen, we thoroughly enjoyed last week, and I say that to you not just as a friend, but certainly genuinely. I thought your comments were very refreshing last week, and thankfully, I'm not the only one. Certainly the feedback that we received personally over the weekend was very top-heavy in favor of Jordan Rivers.
It was, we love what you said, and we love how you said it.
Quite right.
So keep up the great work.
I can only be me.
Yes, sir. Indeed.
I'll lead in this particular topic. Again, I'm starting off with somewhat of a sad note, but I am part of the class of 85, exposing my age, and I note that we were giving condolences to your dad's father,
yes,
which means your grandfather. So sorry to hear about your loss.
Thank you. And it's kind of weird that we're now starting off the show on that, but it's one of those things.
It means it only gets better.
Yeah, exactly. Get the tough things out the way first. I just want to extend my thank yous and gratitudes to everyone that reached out to the family. I know I'm the one on the radio, so I'll do it on behalf of the family, but we genuinely appreciate the support and the reach that we've gotten from all members of the community. So I just want to thank them.
You want to name your grandfather for the benefit of those who perhaps might not know what we're talking about?
My grandfather was Desmond Rivers. Yeah. For those that don't know him, if you ever go out to West Republic Beach, that was one of the generals out there that governed the whole area.
Right.
So
kept people in line.
Kept them in line.
That's right.
Chief domino organizer.
Quite right. He was always a character, wasn't he? Well, certainly on behalf of Straight Talk, Bobo, and all of us here, we certainly extend our heartfelt condolences to you, your family, your father, your mother, and I thank you for honoring him. Obviously, he must have had a big influence in your life.
He had a very interesting influence on my life.
Yeah.
I tell you, he had a very active role in the way that I ended up becoming the way that I am because of the influence he had on my father.
Okay.
One thing my dad always said. So I never always used to see eye to eye with him.
Okay.
But neither did my father.
Right.
One thing my father always said was, I asked him, I said, Dad, why do you continue to entertain that kind of conversation? And he said to me, Jordan, if it wasn't for that man buying me my first horse at 7, the business that we have that feeds our family today would never have happened. So no matter how I view our relationship or how we see, whether we see eye to eye or not, I'll always be able to thank him for that, because if he didn't do that for me, I wouldn't be able to do this for you.
That's nice.
And that's when I just genuinely understood that was the kind of generational impact that one person's decision can have.
All right. Well, I'm sure he's gone on to a better place, but it doesn't make life any easier for those of us who are left behind.
Correct.
We keep him in his memories. I'm sure some of those memories are fond, and we'll just keep the fond memories at the forefront and forget about the rest.
Always the good times.
Always the good times, indeed. I also want to congratulate you on what I thought was an excellent, I think it was a chamber debate that you participated in last week Friday, was it? Yeah,
Friday.
If I remember correct. Certainly just seeing some of the comments on social media suggesting that it was perhaps, one that really stood out for me was it was perhaps the most balanced debate, some social media writers were saying about your debate, but I certainly thought you did rather well. Your composure was fantastic. Thought your answers were on point. Hey, I'll be the first to say it. West Bay North is, really, in your hands, buddy.
I'll tell you what they're saying. We're just trying a thing,
You're just trying a thing.
Trying a thing.
Well, shock and surprise them all on April 30th and say, look, we tried a thing and it worked. We're in.
That's what we're looking for.
Yes, yes. But I also have to say, I noticed a little bit of friction, just a smidge, just a small amount of friction between you and one of your quote-unquote opponents in all of that debate. Is this an issue that, is it an issue that you're worried about?
I wouldn't say it was less during the debate.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's what I expect. You're going to expect those kinds of things to take place. And I think I composed and handled myself as best as I could for the situation. But one person can only take so much.
Sure.
Right? So and now we don't live in a society where you instantly go to fisticuffs over those issues.
No.
We're in a debate. So we're going to debate it out.
That's right.
Now, I will say that friction didn't start just at the debate. One of the other competitors or one of my other colleagues there addressed it, I think, quite eloquently towards the end. But I think it'd be remiss of me to not bring it to the listening audience's attention. Those, of course, they'll be watching later on. But earlier in the day, and I don't even know, would you call it a blog show? Would you call it a Jerry Springer style show that we have here?
I think both are pretty accurate.
So that's what happened. So I took personal offense to it, not because it necessarily affects me, but because I know a lot of hardworking people in this country that have been successful by the sweat of their brow.
Yep.
And just to kind of give you some context as to what took place on that. And let me be very clear. I completely understand the need for a tertiary education. It's an essential, well, I wouldn't say it's essential because you can get very far without one.
Yep.
It does help ease life over for the most part because now you say I have further education.
Right.
But to laugh and berate and chuckle and heavily insinuate and degrade persons that don't have that.
Yeah.
All granted, it was in the vein of politics.
Right.
But there's just certain things you don't cross lines with if you're going to be what is viewed as the statesman,
yep.
and especially as a former minister of this country of education.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was a bit distasteful as a person that used to lead the Ministry of Education to not understand the scope and depth of the title that you once held when it comes to how you gain education in life. And we know that going to school is one form, but there's one thing for those that work hard in their life, and that is called the school of hard knocks, and that is life.
School of life,
right?
Yeah.
That is the school of life, and that is the one that teaches you everything, because for the most part, everything you learn, and that's the final exam.
Yeah.
Right? So I just found it extremely distasteful to see all two of them laugh and berate and push it off as though that you are never going to succeed in this country. You're never going to be successful in this country if you don't have a tertiary education. I know several persons, I'm happy to name some of the people that I look up to because they have worked hard in their life. You have people like Dean Wood, who owns his own cleaning company.
Yeah.
And he's not going to like that I'm going to say this, but multimillionaire, owns a lot of assets, owns a lot of property, but worked his entire life. You have people like Mr. Roper, who came here from Jamaica, and my grandmother tells you about this story. He cleaned windows 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning until he finally owns his own cleaning company.
Yeah.
Right? You have people like Biggie Rankin. Everyone know who Biggie Rankin is.
Oh, yeah.
That man, as they said, whatever he touched turned to gold. And now ask yourself this: what do they all have in common? Right? They didn't have a tertiary education, but they worked hard for what they had because they had the vision, the foresight, the drive, and an overall end goal.
Yes.
A tertiary education cannot do that for you. So when I see people that are supposed to be leaders of this country acting very unprofessional and not like a leader they're supposed to be, I take offense to that because I work hard for everything I've gotten in my life. But that is a crying shame and an indictment to castigate the people, and it's the majority of Caymanians, because you all are a bit older than me. You tell me how many of your relatives before you all came that had a tertiary education. They were seafarers. They left school with a 3rd grade education and came back as master mariner, chief engineer. They helped supply this country financially. And when they came back, they helped build this country.
Yes.
All without a tertiary education. So when it comes to that, I take personal gripe with that because I know how hard Caymanians work in this country. And I just want the listening audience to understand this is the kind of representation we're looking for. And like I tell you, it's not about me in this situation because I can take the licks. My dad and my mother raised me tough for this kind of stuff. But I will not stand here and watch our own people get degraded by persons that are looking to re-seek public office. Makes you wonder. Now you understand why persons like that can make this statement that our people are what is the word?
Crabs in the bucket?
No, not even that. There's a unemployable. That's
unemployable.
What. And it's not. This is not my words. This is the words of those individuals. And now you really start to understand why they say that. So for those that are listening on the radio and actually understand that the debate and forum being what it was, that's always going to be expected. But if I don't come onto this platform here today and defend myself and defend all of you, how can you think that if you elect me that I'm going to be able to stand in Parliament and represent you in your best interest?
Yes.
Right? As they say, when someone shows you who they are, believe
them.
Right? And I just had to clear the air on that because I did not think that was either right, necessary, or deserved to be degrading our own people. And we wonder why when foreign entities come to this country and they feel like they don't need to hire Caymanians, that's because that kind of mentality is sitting in public office, allowing it to happen.
Yes.
So we can feel free to move on with that. We're not going to harp on that all day.
All right. No problem.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate you saying it and respect you for taking the time. Maybe whilst we have 3 topics, and I'm sure we'll talk about a bunch more, but maybe we'll take the last one first, youth advancement in jobs. Because when I hear you say this topic, the first thought that comes to my mind is how do we make our high school graduates, those who get out of high school, more workplace ready at graduation? Yes, some will go on to tertiary education, but unfortunately, according to the statistics, there are more children, young adults, graduating high school and entering the workforce than they are going off to tertiary or secondary education. What are your thoughts on, preparing young people for, the future workplace?
You are correct. And just so the listening audience and eventually the YouTube audience will hear, we currently are sitting with a 60% fail rate in the public education system.
Yeah.
Right. So that means only 40% of our children have the ability, or the option, I should say, to go on and receive a tertiary education. I'm tripping up on that word today, but so be it. It's fine.
It's all right.
So one of the things, and I'm going to plug the party here real early. I'll say one of the first things that we have established in our manifesto that is coming. It should be dropping in the first week of April. I'm hoping. I think that's what they said the launch date was. Is that
tomorrow? You know that, right?
Yeah, that's April 1st.
April 1st.
So that's gonna be a good April Fool's for April 5th.
Yeah. Right.
So what we looked at and we said, listen, and we have someone like Michael Miles, okay, who has been in the education system for years. He's done a lot of work with kids, right? So he understands what is needed to help advance them. So that's why we want to remove the level 1 diploma. So that covers your D, E, F, and G grades. Now, I can tell you, I went to a U.S. private school. I didn't even know it went past F.
Right. Yeah.
But either way, if that's what one standard is, and we've got a couple more lower in the English one, if you allow kids to graduate with a level 1 diploma, where do you think they're going to get employment?
Quite right.
Like, let's be honest about that. So what we've stated is is that we need to remove the qualifications of the level 1 diploma and replace it with a mandatory TVET program to ensure that all of our kids have a reputable career, a reputable skill that they can become employable all across this country. Because at the end of the day, when we look at the facts of not everyone either has the capability, the ability, or the opportunity, whether personally or financially, to go off and receive a tertiary education, we have to be able to instill areas and means to advance them even at home. HVAC, plumbing, electrical, masonry, you name it. Like, people need to understand, yes, this is a laborious task. This is very much a blue-collar job. But when you're seeing that one of these individuals in this field make upwards of $125,000 to $130,000 a year.
Say it again.
Right? This is an amazing field that you do not need further education for.
Yes.
Because as I told you all last time, I'm a kinesthetic learner. I learn with my hands.
Yeah.
And those are fields that are designed to grow people that learn with their hands.
They're also recession-proof in many cases.
They are recession-proof, because I can tell you one thing.
Your toilet's still going to break.
Oh, and
your fridge going to break down. Your AC going to stop working in the hot summer months. You're going to need somebody to come fix that.
Exactly.
Whether it's COVID or not.
And as I
remember COVID, people's pools. Oh my goodness! I felt so small during it because I didn't have a pool. You see, so I wasn't special like that. But apparently, in COVID, people's pools was the top priority. That and toilet paper. You know, they wanted people to come over and clean their pools, and they couldn't because obviously the world was on lockdown.
Exactly.
But I just use that as an example to say that these are jobs, skills that you're pointing out that are also recession-proof.
Yep.
You know, they're going to be around regardless of what's going on with the economy.
Yep. Much like land, the necessity for those fields are not going anywhere anytime soon, because, as we know, a society functions off of those key elements and those key jobs.
Yep.
So no matter where you are in the world, you can come from the bottom of the barrel, the biggest areas of poverty, and you can soar to the highest heights because you have a skill set like that. What I would also like to say is, though, adding to that, this is the kind of foresight that we need in this country to understand that this is the direction we're going. I'm going to jump on two things real quick here.
Yeah.
I made a statement that I was not very favored by one of the opponents there, that I said that when they asked us how do we handle education, I said, firstly, we need to remove it from the purview of political individuals, because if we continue to have education be on a 4-year cycle,
yes,
we're going to continue to fail because we're dependent on the said minister. You can still have the minister, just a lot less influence. They're there to balance the budget, ensure that the people that are adequately qualified to be educators can do their job without political hindrance or political interference, because the football game got stopped at some point. And don't get me wrong, I grew up playing football, so I love to play it, but not in politics.
Right.
Education should never be a political football. And that's what we're seeing here now, is that it is based on every 4 years what kind of minister that we get for that is the direction it's going to go in. So my statements were, we need to remove it from the purview of political officials, create a board and create a council of educators so they can do exactly what they're good at, educate. And that's all the government can have. You can still keep the Department of Education for the guidelines. You can still have the minister as more of a figurehead role, because that's really what most elected officials are for the most part, unless you're actively involved heavily. But doing that now allows education to transcend the realm of politics, because why are we gambling? And I'm going to use that one very lightly there. Why are we gambling and using a political football with the future generation's education?
Right.
And that's how I feel about it. The second thing here now is that when it comes to how I've like I say, I've grown up in the political field, so I'm very aware of how it operates. What I don't like that I'm seeing here now is that we have a lot of young persons that have hopped inside of the political realm because they themselves have realized, I don't see anyone representing me. I can tell you, I've looked in Parliament for years.
Right.
You and a lot of you have spoken some really good things, but there's one key missing factor: the age demographic. It's always on the latter end of things, so they don't understand what the upcoming generations want to